The Democratic Alliance in Gauteng and the Premier of this province, Panyaza Lesufi, are at loggerheads. This is over the revival of the province's Nasi Ispani job creation program. The DA accuses the provincial government of using funds from other departments to revive the project, but Lesufi has rubbished the claims. DA Gauteng Social Development spokesperson Refiloe Ntsekhe joining us now. But before that chat, let's take a listen to what the Premier had to say yesterday.
Nationally, through the Department of Labour, they also have a budget to assist us. They've done that last year. That's why the Nasi Ispani that we had, it was from them. Also, the Department of Education, through teacher assistant program, they've also budgeted to give almost 32,000 young people that don't have jobs now to have those particular jobs. Yes, they are temporary because they're created by government. We all know the difficulties that we're having with the economy. So should we then sentence these young people to poverty purely because we're going to be shouted at for creating temporary jobs? Surely not. We're of the view that half a bread is better than nothing. And some of these opportunities, young people appreciate them too much. And we'll give them those opportunities. And those who don't want them because they're short term, they're also free not to apply for those responsibilities.
All right, let's get into this conversation now. Good evening to you, Ms. Ntsekhe, and good to have you here. Before we talk about where the monies for this program are coming from, because you seem to have an inside track, talk to us about whether you can argue against what the Premier is saying, and that is that a half of bread is better than nothing. Simply put, these young people, these jobs may be temporary in nature, but it still gives them work experience and something to take home.
Golly, I will not disagree that people do need half a loaf of bread. However, most of these programs don't leave with people with any skills. To be sweeping streets is not a skill that somebody can take to the next employer and say, I'm applying for a job. So I think I'm going to leave that at that particular situation at that, because it's not a job that gives, at least if it was a skill that somebody could say, we've now said you worked with a contractor, we are going to accredit it with CETA, so you can say you're a builder. Well, good for it. Then at least you're employable or can do your own, start something on the side.
All right, let's then deal with where the monies are coming from. You heard him say some of it comes from the Department of Labour, and that is at national. But he also suggests that there is some that comes from within the Gauteng departments. What do you know?
Golly, I want to specifically take on social development because it had a component of Nasi Ispani called the brigades. And with the premium now announcing 40,000 people to be employed across the province, here's a couple of sittings which are public documents on YouTube that indicate that there's a problem with funding with this project. Earlier this year, in one of the sittings, I asked an oral question around the funding of Nasi Ispani in social development. The MEC, in her response, said that 48 million rand had been taken away from poverty alleviation projects, which is school uniforms, dignity packs, which include sanitary pads, products for albinism, and food parcels, to fund Nasi Ispani. That's the first incident where you understand that now you're taking away from core service deliverables. On the 13th of May, the MEC also, in response to another question, said that the program would end on the 31st of March because she does not have money. And she was talking about the 8% vacancy rate in the department. And she said it's attributable, and I'm quoting verbatim, to lack of compensation funds. All non-core, when they get money, they will hire. So where would they be hiring from if they still don't have the funding? In fact, if you look at the budgets from this year compared to the previous year, there's been a slash. So are they then going to compromise services to the vulnerable in social development again to be able to resuscitate this let me call it defensive program of the Premier? That is where my concern is I don't want people to be denied of school uniforms because that gives dignity to our poor children in poor communities. I don't want them to be bullied because now they didn't get a uniform. We know that history has shown us that research says a girl child misses about 50 days of school if they don't have access to sanitary pads. Then they stay at home because otherwise they have to use things like newspapers and cloths, which is not dignified and can cause other infections as well. And
Sure.
people with albinism need the sunscreens and the lip balm and the caps that they use to protect their skin.
Okay.
And then the food parcels for people who would not have any other form of access to food if it was not the food parcels that are given by the department. So we already lost 48 million to that in the previous year. What are we going to lose this year? That's why I'm saying, when you listen to the MEC in social development, I'm saying from social development, this is an unfunded mandate.
All right. So, your course of action, you are a party in opposition in the Gauteng legislature. What is it that you're going to do about this, and will it amount to anything?
Well, the reality is I have to use parliamentary processes. So I've already tabled questions to ascertain from the 40,000, how many will be allocated to social development. And then I want to get a presentation from the MEC indicating where this money is going to come from. If it's a new cash injection from national, they must indicate. If not, then which programs are going to be sacrificed in order to make this program become a reality?
Refiloe Ntsekhe, let's leave the conversation there. Hope to take it forward once you have put those next steps forward. But until then, let's leave it here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.